for you to get a proper understanding of what we are going to learn tonight and why the Torah, why didn't we just go to any book in the New Testament? I would like to start with the book of Luke. Somebody say, hey, he has started. We are here to study Torah. What is Luke doing in Torah here? Go to the book of Luke.
Yes,
That is where you will get a proper understanding for what we are going to study. Be quick. And I would like somebody to read for us. Luke chapter 24. Luke chapter 24. And we start reading from verse 12. Somebody should read for me.
Luke 24, verse 12. Then arose Peter and ran unto the sepulchre, and stooping down, he beheld the linen clothes laid by themselves, and departed, wondering in himself at that which was come to pass. And behold, two of them went that same day to a village called Emmaus, which was from Jerusalem about 60 furlongs. And they talked together of all the things which had happened. And it came
all
to
right,
pass.
let me give the background. This is the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And Jesus arose from the grave. And it is noised abroad that the master has resurrected. So there is this confusion all over. People don't really know whether it is true. Remember, if you read in John 20 made us understand that, the chief priest gave money to the soldiers to go and lie that he didn't really resurrect. The disciples came and stole the body. So they went and do that. So, and the disciples also thought, there is just this confusion all over. Everybody is wondering and everybody is saying their own things, like it is today. When there is a little rumor, everybody add to it and they just say whatever they want. And since the apostles, the disciples who were supposed to know and give the proper information that he said he will resurrect, and that is what has happened, they didn't understand the scriptures as well. So they themselves were also wondering what really happened. So now this is two men who also, they were in Jerusalem when all these things happened and they were going to another village. So they on their way to the other village, they are talking. They are also having their own conversation. And the conversation is what we are going to read on.
And behold, two of them went that same day to a village called Emmaus, which was from Jerusalem about 60 furlongs. And they talked together of all these things which had happened. And it came to pass that while they communed together and reasoned, Jesus himself drew near and went with them. But their eyes were holden that they should not know him. And he said unto them, what manner of communications are these that ye have one to another, as ye walk and are said? And one of them, whose name was Cleopas, answering, said unto him, art thou only a stranger in Jerusalem, and hast not known the things which are come to pass there in these days? And he said unto them, what things? And they said unto him, concerning Jesus of Nazareth, which was a prophet, mighty in deed and word, before God and all the people, and how the chief priests and our rulers delivered him to be condemned to death, and have crucified him. But we trusted that it had been he which should have redeemed Israel. Beside all this, today is the third day since these things were done. Yea, and certain women also of our company made us astonished, which were early at the sepulchre, and they found not his body. They came, saying that they had also seen a vision of angels, which said that he was alive. And certain of them which were with us went to the sepulchre, and found it even so as the woman had said it. But him they saw not. Verse 25.
Okay, all right. So this is the conversation. They were on their way, they were talking, and Jesus joined them. So Jesus asked them, what is these things you guys are talking about? And one of them said, oh, are you a stranger in Jerusalem? That all these things happening, you haven't heard? Of course, he's a stranger. And then he said, what thing? What thing happened? What happened? And then they started the story. Well, there is this one man who came, was doing many mighty miracles, and we thought he's the Messiah who is going to deliver us. But sad enough, the chief priests and our leaders have killed him. So to them, there is no hope for Israel again, because they so believe that this is the Messiah and he's dead. Then on the third day, we heard that he's resurrected. He's not in the tomb. And you know these women too, women who talk a lot. You heard that in the conversation, right? And these women who talk a lot, some even said they went to the grave and they didn't find him. You know, this is the moment when he will cross Jesus and now stand in front of him to tell him, you know these women. And the women said, well, he's not in the grave, and they've seen him. That is the astonished part. They've seen him. But, well, the disciples went there to confirm, and they confirmed that, yeah, he's truly not in the grave, everything is there. But for he himself, they haven't seen. So, you know, this man is giving a report that he don't want to corner himself. So he is giving the report as it is. You see, this is what the women said. This is what the disciples said. They confirmed that it looks like he's resurrected, but they said they haven't seen him. You see, but they said they haven't seen him. So I'll read the verse 25. Then he said that he is referring to Jesus. Then Jesus said to them, oh, fools, just imagine how they will feel. Say, oh, fools, and slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have spoken. Jesus is telling them they are fools. Very slow in heart to believe all that the prophets have spoken. Ought not Christ to have suffered these things and to enter into his glory? Jesus is asking them, didn't you read in the prophets, in the books, in the Torah or whatever, that the prophet, that the Messiah was supposed to die, resurrect, and enter into his glory? Didn't you read it? Of course, they can't answer that question because they didn't. Then verse 27 is what I'm basing my this thing on. Verse 27, and beginning at Moses is referring to the from Genesis and all those books, you know, all the books written from maybe from Genesis to Malachi, from beginning from Moses and all the prophets. Can you imagine? And all the prophets, he expounded unto them in all the scriptures the things concerning himself. People of God, this is the only meeting I have missed that I always think about. This is a meeting, right? This is a church gathering. And there is a preacher. The preacher preached from Moses till Malachi. He told them everything concerning himself. So Jesus started from Genesis. And then he, look at the word, he expounded. He expounded unto them in all the scriptures, both the one written by Moses and the ones written by the prophets. Jesus expounded on them concerning himself. Oh, these guys would have been blessed, so blessed. And I wonder the things he has. I'm just, you know, for about 2 weeks now, I kept thinking, what at all did Jesus show them? What at all did he tell them about himself? I'm very sure he didn't read from Genesis to Malachi to them. He didn't. But he pointed out certain things to them that they should be aware of, that these are the things concerning himself. And then the moment this is the point, the moment you don't get, you know, if you are not privileged to get proper teaching on the book of Moses, I'm talking about the Torah and that of the prophets, this is what will happen to you. You will be slow in heart to believe. These are Jews. It is known that every Jew at the age of 12 till something, and they start memorizing the scriptures. These are not people who don't know. They know. And these are even disciples. Go and read from verse 12. He said, and some of them, he's talking about some of the disciples. They are disciples, and they have these things in mind. They have them memorized. But you see, the moment you don't get expound on the scriptures, that is what is likely to happen. You will be slow in heart to believe. Slow in heart to believe. And we have a lot of people like that. You put it here, they put it here. Because you see, the moment you get understanding of the scriptures, you know, your life takes a different shape. So that is what we are going to do. We are going to expound on the scriptures as well about the Messiah. And then what is going to happen is we will be mightily blessed. Go to the same book, chapter 1. Luke chapter 1 and verse 1. Then we enter into the Torah. I know some of you are just waiting for us to start Genesis 1 now. Don't worry. Don't worry. Luke 1 verse 1. For as much as, this is Luke opening his writing. You know, Luke is the same guy who wrote the book of Acts. All right. And then he's opening his writing. He's telling us what he's about to do. Then, if you know this in mind and you are studying the book of Luke, you have to carry this in mind. What he said from verse 1 to 4, what he said there, you have to carry it in mind as you study the book of Luke and the book of Acts. Okay, he said, for as much as many have taken in hand to set forth in order a declaration of those things which are most surely believed among us, even as they delivered them unto us, which from the beginning were eyewitnesses and ministers of the word. Well, this is written in a very technical language. This is what it is saying. John is saying that as many have taken upon themselves, like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and all the other people, even Paul, and they've taken upon themselves to write accounts, certain things to people to read. Luke, let's read the verse 3. It seems good to me also, as he has seen others writing, it seems good to him also, having had, look, having had a perfect understanding of all things from the very first, to write unto you, or to write unto thee in order, most excellent Theophilus. So he said he's going to write these things. He's going to write it in orderly form, one after the other. He's not going to jump anything. And he's going to write it from the perfect understanding he had. He talked about those who wrote the first ones. They were eyewitness. He was one as well. He was also an eyewitness of these things. But you see, after he has read their writings, he's like, it's good. But you see, let me try. If I can arrange it, what they have written, let me see if I can arrange it in orderly form so that people can understand. If you read the book of Luke, he talked about the genealogy of Jesus, but his genealogy was different. Luke even mentions certain peoples in his genealogy of Jesus that are not in, you can't even find their name in the Bible. Luke has those names because he even went into, after the book of Malachi was closed. After the book of Malachi was closed, what happened in between Malachi and Matthew, Luke knew. So he mentioned certain people who live in between Malachi and Matthew. He mentioned their name in the genealogy of Jesus. You see it? So he wrote, and if you study Luke into Acts, you will see the orderly writing that he said he was going to do, and he did it. Marvelous work. Like wonderful work. And it's a proof that he truly perfectly understood the scriptures. This is my point. You see, we cannot organize meetings like this if we don't have perfect understanding of what we are about to teach. I post these things online, somebody copied it back to me and started saying a lot of nonsense. And I'm like, well, if you like, you can join. If you like, you can decide not to. We are actually not expecting everybody in the meeting, even though we would have been glad if everybody would join. Go now to the book of Genesis. Let's start our Torah work. Let's start. Are you getting something so far?
Yes.
Yes.
For me, I think even if we close right now, I'm still satisfied.
Me too.
The things I've even just read, I'm satisfied. I'll advise, try to memorize Luke chapter 1, verse 1 to 4. And then keep saying it, just keep saying it to yourself. There is something about those scriptures when they dawn on you, you know, and I think you'll get it as you do that. Genesis chapter 1, the book of Genesis is a very wonderful book. Is the book of the beginning, and is the book that really helps us to understand the whole scriptures. So understanding Genesis is very, very important. Very, 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 very important. It is Genesis that made us know the source of sin, made us know the source of this world, and so many things. So many things. The genesis of the gospel, source of Israel, and so many things the book of Genesis revealed to us. And this book is believed to have been written by Moses. And Genesis is written in a very technical way. The book, especially at the beginning of the book, they use a lot of symbols and a lot of indirect languages to communicate what the writer is trying to communicate. But this is the point. This is the point. There are a lot of theories that people have proposed from the book of Genesis, which may be true, which may not be true. But if you read the book of Genesis raw like that, if you just study it without considering any of those theories, you will still get the message the writer is trying to put across. But sometimes human beings just want to make things difficult for themselves. So they would now go and take certain pre-Adamic world, fallen angels and certain things and come and fuse it inside. And they become these confusing theories that people are battling with every day. Churches got divided because of some of these theories. But this is the point. If you read through direct like that, without considering any of those things, you will still be blessed. You will still get a message. And the focus of the book of Genesis is not Genesis 1. It's not Genesis 2. The focus actually starts from Genesis 3. Even though 1 and 2 will help us. But you see, there is one thing the writer is just looking at, wants to communicate. But in order for us to get it, he invites certain things inside. So he jumps so many things. He jumps so many gaps in his communication. And those are the gaps, we are trying to fill in today that is creating all these difficulties. But, well, it's not very important. If you know those theories, those gaps, or you don't know them, it's not very important. The most important thing is what Genesis, Exodus, and all those things are all about. The most important thing is they are fulfilled in Christ. And here we are part of it. Genesis chapter 1 and verse 1. The Bible says, in the beginning, God created heaven and the earth. Some of you have heaven in plural form, heavens. And this class, I'll try as much as I can to clarify certain things that are really confusing in scriptures today. So the Bible says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Some translations say the Bible, the heavens, the heaven is in plural form, and the earth. Well, if you know Genesis already, especially chapter 1, you will know that the focus of Genesis 1 is not with the heavens or the heaven, it's with the earth. All right. So thank God we don't have the earth in plural form. That